Hey guys, SimCoder here, and today we'll be starting on our Instagram clone app. Today it will be pretty simple and pretty fast. We'll just set up the development environment using Expo, and I'll show you how you can deploy this on your Android device. Unfortunately, I don't have an iOS device, but it is as simple as the Android device. So yeah, it should be pretty simple. So let's do it. It will take no time. Before carrying on with the video, I just want to let you know that only around 20% of you guys are actually subscribed to this channel. So if you don't want to miss any single video in the future, be sure to subscribe and to hit the notification bell. Okay, so first things first, what we'll do is go into Chrome. I'm going to drag the window up here and simply go into expo.io. Go into it, and this is the page that appears. So with React Native, you have two options. Either you use the React Native CLI, which is the original version, or use Expo. So the advantage of using Expo is that it takes care of a lot of the boilerplate stuff, and you don't need to worry about mostly anything. With React Native CLI, you have to do a lot more stuff in order to set up, for example, Firebase and other things that come along with it. With Expo, you get a much simpler project folder, project structure, so you don't need to worry about all that much. You do lose some control over the app, but in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of people that develop for React Native, it isn't enough to justify the use of React Native CLI. So Expo is the way to go, in my opinion. Obviously, if there are some stuff that isn't supported by Expo, then you would need to go with React Native CLI. But for this project, Expo is more than enough. So coming in here, I'm going to scroll down and click Get Started. In the Get Started, you get the step-by-step process that you must complete in order to start up an Expo project. The first thing that you need is to download NodeJs. So I'm going to come in here, and I've uninstalled it from my OS in order to show you guys how to do it. So in the moment, I'm using Manjaro, and because of that, the installation process is a bit different from Windows or Ubuntu, whatever. But in Node.js website, you have all of the information that you need in order to complete the installation process. If you are in Windows, you just need to click it in the LTS version or the current version. I would suggest you go with the current version. From experience, Expo tends to work better with the current version. Even though it isn't as stable, it simply works best. So in order to install in Manjaro, all you have to do is to come in here and say sudo pacman minus capital S Y Node.js npm. This will install both Node.js and npm, which is the package manager for Node, and simply install it, and it will start the installation process. If you have other OSs, then please search around on the web. There is a lot of documentation and help on forums like Stack Overflow, so you shouldn't have any problems installing Node.js and npm. Now, after you have it installed, if you go into the command line and say npm-v, the version of npm should appear, and this is a good sign. This means that npm was successfully installed. The same for Node.js, or better yet, Node. Let me try that. Yep, Node. I have the version 14.8.0, which is not the current one, but it isn't far from it, so I'm going to roll with it. Going to clear this. Okay, so now that we have Node.js installed, we are ready to get Expo installed. All you have to do in order to complete this is run this command npm install expo -cli -global. This will install Expo in your whole system. So let's run this. And it should take some time again. Don't worry, it will finish in a second or two. If an error like this appears, then that means that you need sudo to install it. Simply run sudo. This isn't generally advised, but for the time being, this is the fastest way of getting everything up and running. So let's go with it. Okay, so as you can see, it was successfully installed. It added some packages, and we are now ready to start our project. And in order to do this, all you have to do, and I'm going to clear this up first, say Expo init, and now we give the name of the folder and the name of the project that we want to create. In this case, it will be Instagram. So I'm going to open that up, and now you get a bunch of options. So you are able to choose between the managed workflow or the bare workflow. The bare workflow is React Native CLI, so we are not interested in that. In the managed workflow, we are using Expo as it is intended to be used. And you get 3 options in here. You either get the blank option, the blank in TypeScript, or the tabs in TypeScript. In this series, we'll be using JavaScript, even though TypeScript is a good option and one that I'm actually interested in making the transition to. For now, we are using JavaScript because it is still the most used one and the one that most people are used to. So simply choose blank in the managed workflow, click enter, and now it will take some time to install all of the dependencies needed in order to start the project. Okay, so after it is done being completed, a message saying your project is ready will appear. And now, in order to run the project, all you have to do is to go into the folder. Because I called Instagram, then the folder created will be Instagram, and you can easily see this by listing. You'll see Instagram appears here. Okay, so now let's go into Instagram. I'm going to clear this up first. And now to start a project, this is something that you have to get used to because you'll have to run this every single time that you want to develop or to launch the project. You have to run Expo start. Give it some time, it will open up a tab on your browser, which is this one, and I'm going to grab this and go into Chrome because I really don't like Firefox, personal opinion. And it will say starting Metro Bundler. And this is a tab that's opened, and this is where you are given control over your Expo project. So as you can see from this left side pane, you are able to run on Android, run on iOS, run in web browser, and you are even able to send a link to an email, which then that link will give the user the option to open up the app in their phone directly. You are even able to publish the project. This will be on the Expo site, so any user will be able to run your project with no problem. You don't need to worry about anything. Then you have the production mode and the type of connection. This is kind of important because sometimes LAN doesn't like to work. This is from my personal experience, and it might be from the OS that I'm using, Manjaro. So from personal experience, Tunnel, the tunnel type connection seems to be the one that works best and most reliably. But let's try and run this. I'm going to run this in the web browser because right now I don't have any emulators running, and let's give it some time. And the project opens up in a browser. And if I go into code, into my VS Code, which is my preferred code editor, you are free to use whatever code editor you want. So code dot Visual Studio will start, and this is our project. This is everything that you need in order to run an Expo project. And if I go into app.js, which is the first file to get called up in Expo, there might be some other files that are Expo specific that we don't really mess with. But this, for us as developers, is the first project, the first file that's called, and the first file that we have to worry about. And as you can see, open up app.js to start working on your app is the same message that appears here. Now, the cool thing about Expo is that it is really developer friendly, so we are able to do cool stuff like hot reloading, which is always nice. So I'm going to quickly clear this up, and I'm going to say hello world, save it, and the page gets hot reloaded. Okay, so for developing purposes, you are free to use the web. It will work similar to iOS and Android, because remember, React Native picks up all of these tags and it translates it into tags that Android and iOS understand. They are specific to both of them, but the cool thing is that it can also translate this into HTML tags, just like any website would use. So it gives us, as developers, a lot of control of where we want to test the app, and this means that we can even build an Android app or iOS app, in this case both, without using any iOS device or Android device, which is really cool. Okay, so now I'm going just to open it up here so you guys can see, and I'm going to show you how to run this on your Android device. On iOS it is a bit different, obviously, but I'm going to assume that most of you guys are running Android, and if you don't, I strongly recommend you use an Android device. If you want to, obviously, you aren't required to, you just need your PC. You could even install an emulator, but I didn't have much success running emulator. Again, this can be because of the OS I'm using, but in developing an app, I strongly suggest to use a real device, as it gives you a better feedback on what you are building. So I'm going to come into my Android device, and I'm going to actually start recording. So in order to run Expo on your device, you have to have developer options enabled. For that, you can go into About Phone and tap many times in the build number. This can be phone specific. I'm running OnePlus 6T, but for other phones it is basically the same. And you click a bunch of times, and eventually it will enable developer option. In my case, I have it already enabled, so I can go back, go into System, then go into Developer Options, and I'm going to enable USB debugging. This will allow you to quite easily develop using an Android device. Then the other thing that you must do is to go into Play Store and install Expo. Expo has an app which you should have installed in order to quite easily develop using an Android device. With the emulator, I believe that you must also do it, so it is an inevitability for you guys to have to install this app. After you have it installed, you see all of the projects that you've developed inside here, and you are even able to test the boilerplate apps that they have in their website directly on your device, which is really cool. Okay, so now I'm going to connect it to my PC, and when you connect it and you run on Android, it will probably ask you to allow this PC to do some stuff to your Android device. Allow it. It is just giving the PC permissions to install APKs or whatever it might be on your device. So after that, run on Android and it will start running. Let's see if LAN actually works this time. Give it a second, and it gave an error. So when this happens, normally easy fix for that is to change the connection type to tunnel. Then run again, and now it is loading the JavaScript bundle. Give it some time, and the app will appear in here. Again, with Android, you also have quick reload. So if you save it, then the hello changes. Okay, so now we are ready to start developing. We have our development system ready. We are ready to actually start writing some code and go from there. In the next lesson, we'll probably do the login system. It will be using Firebase, so we must install some packages. I'll show you guys how to do that. And then we must mess with some code. It is really quite simple because Firebase has a really good documentation, so don't worry about that. Regarding this lesson, if you had any problems during the setup process, let me know down in the comment section. I'll try my best to help you guys. Sometimes, depending on the OS, it doesn't like to work at first time. You must enable some environment variables, stuff like that. So yeah, let me know. I'll try to help you to the best of my abilities. So that's all for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope to see you again tomorrow, and ciao!